This is Red Podcast, episode number 233. We're talking about book publishing. If you want to get your book out, I'm talking to a guy who can help you do it. That's coming up.
This is the Red Podcast. How to reach more people, establish your authority, and deliver your message. Here's your host, David Hooper.
I've always been fascinated by the concept of a doppelganger, somebody who looks just like you. But even more fascinating to me are the people who are named the same name that you are and how different they can be from who you are. I had a guy who was introduced to me backstage at ACL Fest, Austin City Limits Fest, kind of like Bonnaroo, Lollapalooza. In fact, it's owned by the same people that do Lollapalooza. It's down in Austin, Texas. And a friend of mine brought him up to me. He said, "This guy's got the same name you do." He said, "Who is that guy when I look up my name on the internet that pops up everywhere?" I said, "Well, I hope it's me." But it's not always me. I looked it up. There are a couple of folk musicians named David Hooper. There's a stunt man named David Hooper. On IMDb, I'm actually David Hooper number 5. So there are at least 4 other people working in the entertainment industry named David Hooper. But probably the most interesting, I just found out about this guy. He's exactly the opposite of me in a lot of ways. I'm in North America. He's in South America. I'm white. He's black. He's a musician out of Madrid, Spain. He's got a band called David Hooper and the Silverbacks. He actually sounds like he's from Memphis. Check this out.
I'm in love like yesterday. Been a long time, but I still can't find my way. I'm in love like years ago.
David Hooper and the Silverbacks. If you like him and you want to hear more, I have him linked in the episode notes, redpodcast.com/233 for those. Probably the coolest David Hooper that I've run up upon, though, is a character. He's not even real. It's a character in a trilogy, kind of like a zombie fiction trilogy. He was so cool, I made him his own movie trailer.
David Hooper has a hangover from hell, a horrible ex-wife, and the fangs of the IRS deep in his side. The last thing he needs is an explosion at work. And despite the news reports, David knows terrorists aren't to blame. When he wakes up in a hospital bed guarded by Navy SEALs, he realizes this is more than just a dream. This nightmare is way weirder.
You know, these movie-style trailers, that's the way books are being sold these days. And the audio is pretty easy to do. You can hire a voiceover guy, you can put some music behind it, you're good to go. But where people get lost is the video part. And that's where Video Blocks comes in. Right now, you can go to videoblocks.com/red to get all the stock footage you can imagine for just $149 a year. No royalties, flat rate, use it any way that you want. Videoblocks.com/red. They've got millions of dollars worth of video footage. Even if you're not doing a movie trailer, even if you're not doing videos at all, they've got some cool stuff that's going to work for your website. They've got some very cool stuff that's going to work for your PowerPoint presentations. Videoblocks.com/red to check them out. Get a free trial. And if you like them, $149 per year, unlimited. Use it any way you want. Videoblocks.com/red to get it. So now that I've shown you what you need to do a video trailer for your book, you just need the book. That's exactly what my guest on this episode can help you do. Carrie Oberbrunner, that's what he does for a living. He helps people get their books out. He's also an author himself. He's a business guy like you or me. You'd think he would do nonfiction books, and he has done nonfiction books. But his latest book, it's fiction. I want to talk to him about how he does that. That's coming up. But first, just in case you've forgotten where you are.
This is the Red Podcast.
Carrie, welcome to Red Podcast.
David, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. I feel privileged.
So the book, it's called Elixir Project. It's available right now wherever books are sold. The subtitle, I guess it's a subtitle. It says, "Everything can be hacked, even the truth." Talk about your philosophy, because this is not a normal business book.
Not at all. I've been published since 2004, 6 traditionally published books, nonfiction, all of them. Some started out with the Christian label and then moved into business books. This is very different. This is young adult, near future fiction thriller. It's basically, as readers have now consumed it, they're telling me that it's a mix between Inception, Hunger Games, Equilibrium, Divergent, Matrix. I mean, all of that near future reality that's close to us. It was thrilling, David. It was unbelievable to write. Hardest thing I've ever done, but looking back now, it was incredible.
You're not the first person to use fiction in a business book. Books like The Richest Man in Babylon, we learn via stories. And I'm curious to know, with the background that you had with nonfiction business books, why move it over to a young adult novel?
I believe that if it's a good story and it's good character development, we get sucked in and our defenses are down. And very few people put up that inner critic that says, what's this author trying to tell me? And, maybe I'm not comfortable with admitting that truth about myself and this type of thing. It's all put by the wayside. We classify fiction, especially young adult fiction, kind of as entertainment. I knew I needed to bring a message of unhackability to the world. I believe we live in a world today that is noisier and noisier. 5,000 ads a day the average person sees unconsciously. 2,600 times the average person touches their smartphone a day. That's taps, swipes, clicks, you name it. We live in a world today that the average person spends 5 hours on browsers and apps, but that's not the problem. The problem is that over half of those are in 30-second bursts or less, which means that most people's day is spent literally being interrupted. And as a musician, if you're going to create great work, and you're going to be interrupted every few minutes with distractions, i.e. tweets, email, status updates, whatever, telling you that it's time to breathe, it's time to stand. You know that you cannot accomplish good work. We call this distracted work, not deep work, according to Cal Newport.
Yeah.
I knew that we were headed in this way, but you don't just do a TED Talk book on that. Nobody wants to hear that. So instead, I wrote a crazy thriller book. I used the fact that people have ideas and then they go out to implement those ideas. And somewhere along the way, between ideation and implementation, they get hacked. They get distracted, sidelined, or sabotaged.
Before we get into the business model, why a book? I'm in the middle of writing a book right now, in the middle of being constantly distracted right now while writing it. So I know how difficult it is to write books. Beyond that, having published books before, it's also a difficult sale because a lot of people, they don't read books. So I'm curious to know, why did you do this in book format?
Couple things. Number one, audiobooks are actually the fastest growing platform of books. Audible subscriptions have gone through the roof. People have an audiobook player wherever they go. It's called their smartphone. And the average person, even commuting, basically commutes between 12 to 25,000 miles a year, which if you use those miles to read a book, you would essentially be able to do a PhD level after 2 years of any discipline. So audiobooks are going through the roof. Books in general, though, I think it's more for the author than the reader. And I know that sounds like, what are you talking about, dude? Well, David, I think we were chatting yesterday, and I shared with you that I've already had a sold-out event around Elixir Project, a literal fiction book that was turned into a live event, which had a sellout crowd, people as far as Israel, Egypt, UK, Scotland, you name it. Unbelievable. So income-wise, crazy good. Influence-wise, crazy good. Impact-wise, so influence, impact, and income, that's why you do books. Here's another thing, though, David. If you and I need to spend time together for me to download your thing, your message, that's going to take you time. And you will have limited impact in the world if everything that you say is reduced to FaceTime, like literal time. Everyone's hyped up about passive income. I'm hyped about passive impact. I can easily be touching someone right now in New Zealand with a message called unhackability through Elixir Project and never meet them ever in my life. A woman named Kate emailed me the other day. Carrie, I read Day Job to Dream Job. I've never met you in my life. I read the book, shifted my life, became an entrepreneur. I'm now running my own business. I'm forever grateful. That was my last book in 2014. People are still reading books. People are able to be impacted for the rest of their lives without you spending 1 minute of time with them. I get the fact that, quote, a lot of people don't read at the same point. It forces you as the content creator to get clear. Clarity attracts, confusion repels. And if you want to be a clear entrepreneur, author, musician, online business person, writing a book is a discipline that forces you to get clarity around a table of contents, chapters, you name it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that doing the podcast, having to organize the podcast, that's one level. Having to organize speeches, that's one level. But the book, because there's an element of permanence to it, and because it is so big, it's almost like a skyscraper as opposed to building a sandcastle.
I like that.
It takes a lot more work, a lot more planning. It's bigger. It does force you to get clear. Otherwise, I mean, you don't have to get clear. You can release it, and a lot of people do, and it doesn't go anywhere. And we're going to get into that in just a second because you've got a whole business model around this. But I'm curious before that to talk about why you did this yourself. You mentioned you were traditionally published. Mm-hmm. That was an option for you on this book, I would imagine. But you're self-publishing it.
Yeah. When I've been traditionally published, these were some pretty legit publishers. I mean, Harper owns Zondervan. Zondervan did 2 of my books. Baker did 2. Relevant magazines, some people might know of them. They did my first book way back in 2004. So there's some legit publishers. And yeah, when you go with a publisher, not against them, there's a time and place for them in the marketplace. However, you give away a lot of control. My last book before this, I was going to name Escaping Shawshank, and about going from your day job to your dream job, the metaphor. The publisher toward the end said, no, we're changing it. It's now day job to dream job. Was I okay with that? I had to be. I was in contract. I created an event called Escaping Shawshank with our mutual friend Dan and Joanne Miller. So I kind of had my cake and ate it too. But the point is this, you lose control. I was able to do everything with this book. And as a result, be rewarded that way too. You give away 85% at least of your royalty when you do a book with a traditional publisher. You're handed designers, you're handed editors, you're handed people that may or may not be excited about your book. They have a day job too. And there's just not the same passion level, control level, compensation level than if you go and do it yourself.
I'm curious to know how the timelines differ. I know I had a publishing deal with a traditional publisher and then now self-publishing, and the timelines for me have been completely different. So let's talk about this Elixir Project timeline specifically. Yeah. I'm going to divide this into 3 different sections. Idea, then the creation of the book itself and the things around it. Also the promotion of it, because as you know, you release something, it doesn't just start selling. So let's talk about the idea. You had this idea, and did the creation start immediately after that?
No, actually, I had the idea. The literal day was October 8th, 2014. That evening, I woke up from a dream, nothing like crazy, but I woke up and I grabbed my phone and literally talked out 12 lines of text. Nothing crazy, nothing like a manuscript or anything, but enough for me to sit there and think about it. And I thought about it for a lot of months because colleagues told me, you're an idiot. What are you doing? Why would you write fiction? Why would you do that for a career move? What will your clients think if it bombs? So I had to get over all that artist stuff of the mental hacking that was taking place inside me. So before I really dug deep and got into it, it was 2015. And then like a business owner now who has many businesses, I kept doing it in the margins of life. And it wasn't until I hired an editor who told me, your manuscript is due June 30th, 2016. Otherwise, you lose your spot. You lose half your deposit and you're done. And like I teach in my content and courses, deadlines, I say this, David, I say, desire without deadlines are simply a pipe dream.
So the time you hired that editor to the time the manuscript was done, what was the months on that?
When I really, really dug deep into the manuscript and got serious about it, it was probably March 2016. And then it was due first draft June.
So 4 months.
4 months. Then it was handed back to me for some edits. We did not have that manuscript done. I'm talking like done, clean done, until, oh my gosh, probably late September. And I literally had my event mid-October. So yes, when you say, can you do this fast? Like if you have a clean manuscript done, you're talking weeks before that thing can be up selling to the world.
That's pretty quick though. So 4 months for the first draft and let's say an additional 3 months to tighten it up. You're much quicker than I am.
Well, and that's when I got serious and put money on the line. Before that, I have 3 kids, I have a wife, I have businesses. It was messing around. You know, it was getting hacked myself, and I had to learn to apply my principles.
What about the difference between a nonfiction book and the fiction story that you're telling? Because nonfiction, in a lot of ways, it's easier to write, I think.
Oh, I think so.
Because you don't have the dialogue, you don't have to worry about story arc. It's just more or less a bunch of blog posts put together for a lot of these nonfiction books. So how did you learn that? Was that along the way, or did you study it beforehand?
I studied it. I actually took a online class on fiction writing. Probably the best thing I did was get other fiction books in my genre, and through audio books. What I do, David, is I basically jog. I'm not a fast runner, but I jog, and so I'm listening to these audiobooks, and then on my iPhone, every time there's something cool or a technique that I thought was pretty exceptional.
So you get the book done, as in ready to put it on paper. Promotion. Is this something that you were working on ahead of when the book was out? Did this start even earlier than that when you had the idea? Let's talk about promotion and where you are currently in the promotion process, because I know this is an ongoing thing.
If you're an artist, you have to get over the fact that, well, I'm coming off as self-promoting. Look, if you're a doctor and you found a cure for cancer and you're bashful and you're scared to tell people who are hurting, shame on you. And it's the same thing with authors, business peoples. There's a way to do it. It's called value-based marketing. It's called permission-based marketing. You're not spamming people. You're not interrupting them. You don't look like that guy or that girl. What I did, David, is I built a launch team. Day that I officially launched, I soft launched it in October. I officially launched it December 6th. I had over 1,200 people in my launch team. This was a militia of people that were committed to me for 6 months. This is crazy stuff. Most people don't want to talk about this because it's work. I started a private Facebook group, and from July 14th to December 6th, every single day, I had Mission Monday, Tool Tuesday, Word Wednesday, Thankful Thursday, Facebook Friday, Strategic Saturday, and Sneak Peek Sunday. So I literally gave these people 6 months of a brief value-based touch every single day.
And how did you build up the team? You said 1,200 people. These were people you already knew, or they kind of came on because everybody else was excited?
We started with one person, and do I have a tribe? Yes. Do I have loyal clients all over the world? Yes. But look, a lot of those people joined, a lot of them didn't. What happened was I serial released a chapter a week. So beginning in September, I released a chapter, and that gained some momentum. I never put all my chips on one strategy. I made it about them. This wasn't, hey, let's all launch Carrie's book. No, it was people in this group should be authors, entrepreneurs, and I constantly gave them value. So I said, hey guys, I'm going to try out this new thing, and here's why I'm doing it, and here's what I think it could do for your book. It was a massive value place where people...
So these people were authors themselves, and they were watching you launch in hope that they could pick up something for their own launches?
Yeah, I do everything with a who, what, when, where, why, and how. And so before I launched this group, I said, here's who I'm looking for. Here's what you're going to receive. Here's why I think you should join. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's what I'm going to give you. And I basically front-loaded the deal. I'm going to treat you guys like kings and queens. Day one, I had 130 five-star reviews. Day one. That's unheard of. Like, you can pick the biggest authors in the world. I was beating Tim Ferriss during his launch week. Now he's crushed me because he's got 2 million followers. But my point is this. We started on December 6th with a crazy blast.
So we talk about the business around the book, and something that we haven't gotten into really on this interview here is that you do have a business called Author Academy Elite. Mm-hmm. Some of the money that you can make off of this book is through Author Academy Elite. This is showing that it's possible to release a book. It's possible to promote a book. When a lot of authors, myself included, when we release books, we're not really making money off the book. This is like when I worked in the music industry. You don't make money off the music. You become famous because of the music. You sell t-shirts, cologne, you get movie deals. The music is just what enables you to do those things. And the same for authors a lot of times. You, me, a lot of these authors that you're working with included.
If people think that they're going to make money off of a $10 book, a $14 book, whatever, they're totally missing it. And here's why. Let's just talk numbers. You know, I don't share these numbers ever, but I'll share them with you since that's what your podcast is about. A sold-out event in October based around becoming unhackable. You do the math, right? Ticket door price was $497 for 2 days. Why? Because we're giving them crazy value. We're teaching them how to 10x their businesses. We're teaching them how to become unhackable in work and life. You're solving a problem, so people are going to invest in that. Tickets didn't start at that price. They were $397 and then they moved up. But just do the math, 170 people times that. Now we have a course that launches in a few days, actually, and we have 100 people that have invested at $497. Now, you talk about most authors making $50,000 off their book, their jaw will drop. They'll be like, "What are you talking about? Holy cow, that's like the upper echelon." I create 17 streams of income from the last 4 books that I've done. It's just like if somebody writes a book on how to parent a special needs child, right? Let's just talk about that for a moment. Divorces for special needs childs, I hear, are 80%. So let's talk about the damage of a special needs divorce. It's crazy toxic and painful. It's tough to parent a special needs kid. Well, if you write a book about how to parent a special needs kid and keep your marriage, you'll sell that for $10, $15. A lot of people would love a small group coaching program with you where you take 20 people online, and for $500, they're going to be able to spend 6 weeks with you. It's a weekly call. It's a private Facebook group. 500 times 20, $10,000. Now, you might say, well, you're just trying to make money off people. Look, do you know how much they're going to pay in divorce court? Do you know how much that they're paying in stress and cortisol pumping through their body because they can't have answers for parenting their special needs kids? This is where we need to get off of ourselves and realize if you have a solution for people, nonfiction or fiction, they will pay you and invest in that. That's kind of what we do is we build businesses around books.
Well, the fiction book is certainly an interesting way to do it. Something else that you've got with this book that you wouldn't have with a nonfiction is an opportunity for television and film. And that is where the real money comes in for authors. And then maybe eventually, like Harry Potter, you can have your own amusement park.
Hey, I thought about it, man. And you and I, you and I can be the, I don't know, the dudes running it. So
there you go. I'll certainly buy a ticket for it.
There you go.
The website, it's elixirprojectbook.com. It's a cool book. It's well done. One of the reasons that I think somebody should pick it up is just to see how good a self-published book can look. So many times I see these independent releases that not only do they not look good, they're not edited. The story isn't there. The organization isn't there. You've done it all. It's elixirprojectbook.com. I've got one more question for you, and that is regarding the audio, because this is a fiction book. Did you hire a voice actor to do the audio? Did you voice it yourself? How did it work when it comes into the characters?
Yeah.
And the reading that is a whole lot different than reading a nonfiction book.
ACX.com is owned by Audible, which is owned by Amazon. ACX wants to pair you up with readers, narrators. There's 3 different payment options. One is that you read your book for free, which I did for Day Job to Dream Job. It was a business book. Why not read it myself? Then I get to keep 100% of the royalties. Of course, Amazon Audible takes 60%. The author gets 40%. However, ACX also has this narrator reads it, and you guys split the 40%. And there's many fantastic narrators who do that. It's just like anything. You get samples for free. You get to review them. You get to choose, kind of like a 99 Designs type model. But then the other option is that you hire them outright. And that's what I did. I hired an unbelievable narrator, a female, who, of course, I wasn't going to read the book, myself, because that would be really scary as a female voice. But also, she did all the voices, the inflections. I have an Australian accent, a UK accent in the book, an Asian accent. She nailed it all. And her name's Heather Masters. Unbelievable. But I paid her outright. They charge per finished hour of audio. And I think that if you have a book and it's not on audio, you are missing a massive audience.
Well, especially if you have a podcast, because people already listen to audio. They're familiar with the format. I like what you said about that, hiring somebody out when they're better at the job.
Yeah.
Certainly for nonfiction, if it's you, it's personality-based, it's good for you to do it. But I'm with you, man. I could not do all those accents and keep up with the different inflections. And the voice would sound different at the end than it would be at the beginning, even though I'm the author. So,
that is so true. That is so true.
If you're interested in the book or any of the other services that we've talked about here on this episode, elixirprojectbook.com will get you in touch with Carrie. Thanks again for being here, Carrie.
David, thanks so much for all you're doing.
You've been listening to Red Podcast. Never miss an episode. Subscribe now with your iPhone, Android, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.
And if you're interested in the book or any of other, geez, now I'm messing up. If you're interested in the book or any of the other services, Carrie, this is going my outtake reel. If you're interested in the book or any of the other services that we've talked about here on this episode, Elixir Book Project will put you, elixirbookproject.com, Elixir Project Book. All right, now we really got outtakes.